Lender realities, and our realities. Are we committed to excellence? Please stand up. So I know I can't see you, and I don't know if you're really standing up, but a couple of you are watching this together with somebody else. So stand up, because this is some skill testing questions, and unfortunately, I think statistically speaking, a whole bunch of you are going to sit back down again pretty quick anyway, but stand up anyway, and stay standing. Stay standing if you've read one complete broker kit. One. Now, the crazy thing is when I would do this in a room of 100 people, you would be shocked at how many people would be sitting down. In the industry for years, never read a complete broker kit from end to end. Hadn't happened. Now, I know they're hard to come by, but there is one out there, and when there's only one, there's really no excuse not to be reading that one. Stay standing if you've read 3 or more broker kits. So the rest of you sat down. So we're looking for the final contender, who we will not be able to see, but we might figure out a way to do this. I'm thinking about it on the fly. Stay standing if you read 3. So now you'd look around at the room and you'd kind of high-five each other. We'd be down to about 10 people out of 100 typically. If you've read 10 or more broker kits, stay standing. At this point, there's maybe 2 or 3 people out of our 500 or 600 left standing. So if you've read 10 or more broker kits, I'm just going to trust that you're still standing. Send me an email or a text and just say, yeah, I read 10 or more. Because if you were physically here, I would actually pull a $100 bill out of my back pocket, which these guys know I have, because I haven't been able to give them to you guys. I'm giving them to these guys. And I'd give you $100 because you deserve something, even though you're probably actually succeeding and outperforming because you've actually read the textbooks. You know, you've actually done the homework, which is awesome. So kudos to you. There's usually one. It usually costs me $100 to do that. We're going to see how many emails I get now, how many texts I get. But if I get more than 3 or 4, I will be shocked. And why I say we need to read these manuals is I myself am not that great at this with certain things. The business I pay a lot of attention to. A lot of other things I don't. And a great example is I owned a car for about a year, which is a long time for me to own a car. I owned a car for almost a year, and I tend to burn through vehicles pretty quickly. Unless they're trucks, then I just drive them into the ground forever. But I had this cool car, pretty fancy, had a ton of bells and whistles, all kinds of stuff. It even had a heated steering wheel that I discovered in May after a long, cold winter with that leather-wrapped steering wheel. I did not know it had a heated steering wheel. I mean, it's a given, it should have, given the nature of the car. But I never read the manual. So I had these freezing cold hands all winter long for no reason, just because I didn't read the manual, and that applies in brokering. Which lender has a static payment, right? Which lender has a static payment? Read the manuals, read the manuals. So these are some submission stats that I shared back in 2018. I got updated stats, and if you compared the slides, you'd be like, wait, you didn't change anything. That's because we haven't gotten any better. We haven't gotten any better, but these stats are important. 42% of files submitted require rework. Info is missing in action. 4 out of 10 submissions are missing info. Why I share this with you is not because that's you. You guys aren't doing that. Of course you fill in every field accurately. The most common problems are income does not match what the documents provided then say, or down payment does not match. It changes as well. So income and down payment, property value is another piece of that puzzle. How are 40% of initial submissions requiring rework and being declined back? That's unbelievable. And as I say, the reason I share that with you is so you can understand a little bit of the pain that an underwriter goes through. Underwriters are like picking through trash all day long, looking for the hard drive with the 7,500 Bitcoins on it, right? Like they're looking for the gold. They're looking for your application, but they have to go through a whole bunch of other people's applications that are basically hot garbage. It's no good. missing information and incorrect information, 4 out of 10 files. That's unbelievable. 4 out of 10 files as we move towards completion. 4 out of 10 files are complete 20 days out from funding. That's you guys. Good job. That's awesome. That's low stress. That's low stress for the underwriter, low stress for you, your staff, your clients, your referral partners, the law firm, the conveyance staff, everybody. You are known as the gold standard. Look at you, you're awesome. Hey, there's a file from you. Let's underwrite this one, even though there's this other pile of 62 that we're supposed to underwrite first because they came in before this one. You don't think underwriters do that? You don't think they push some to the side and they grab yours even though it's not next in line? They absolutely do. When you have detailed submission notes, a great track record, and they know your file is going to be a nice clean file they can whip through, boom, it's one and done, it's getting looked at. So this is you, but here's what's clogging up the system and creating all the problems for you and the stress for your underwriters. 37% of files aren't complete until 10 days before funding. That is getting pretty tight. Like that is, that's a little uncomfortable. I don't love that. You know, it happens once in 20 files. Maybe it happens once in 10 files. You know, okay, that's maybe, it's the way it's got to go, but we can improve that. 21% of files, 1 in 5 files are not complete until 5 days before funding. What kind of crazy town half-ass brokering is that? That is ridiculous. It shouldn't even be allowed. It just shouldn't. And there are lenders who say, yeah, no, sorry. Like when all conditions are met, we will fund 10 days after that, no sooner. Because the other departments then wind up with pressure on them, right? The funding departments, the instructing departments, et cetera. Question for the 1 in 5. I want you to get your pen out. I want you to get your notebook. I want you to have a clean page. On the top of that page, I want you to write down this question if you're one of the 1 in 5 that is consistently not getting your files complete until 5 days before funding. You ready? There it is. Seriously, what's happening there? What's happening, right? Okay, I'm being a little hard on you, but you can absolutely improve your process. So like I say, 26% of submissions straight up declined. They don't work here. 1 in 4 files that hit the underwriter's desk, never gonna fund here, don't you know our programs? Goodbye. 58% of submissions make it all the way through to funding. The rest get lost in the shuffle as well. So a 76% funding ratio overall. This is what we're up against. So you know you can be better, and you know why you want to be better? Because you don't want a pre-funding audit. You really don't want a pre-funding audit. The odds of a pre-funding audit, which is, well, we'll get into what exactly that is, they increase 50% when the documents are sent inside 10 days of closing. Because it's a red flag. What's going on? Why don't we have docs on this? It was submitted 6 weeks ago. Why are we getting the appraisal a week before funding? What's happening here? Why are we getting down payment documents 3 days before funding? What is going on? Is someone trying to hide something from us? And so the pre-funding auditor, a different person than the underwriter, they enter the picture, and they are not this person, who many of you are probably too young to recognize. This is Mary Poppins. She's a delightful, wonderful person who has no future as a pre-funding auditor whatsoever. Your pre-funding auditor is a little more like this dude, all right? And you know where your file's going? Your file is going to the train station. That's where your file is going, all right? There's my pop culture metaphor for 2022 for you. But true story, pre-funding audits are whose fault? Whose fault is it that the file is now being gone through with a fine-tooth comb? And maybe that special exception you got, maybe it's being pulled back. And maybe that file isn't going to fund, or you know what, we need to increase the down payment by $3,200. I'm not even making that one up. That was a result of a pre-funding audit. We want $3,200 more down because it fit within a different investor's box with that extra $3,200. But you go try and explain that to a client, right? A different investor. What do you mean? You're moving to another lender? No, it's the same lender. This is a different investor. A different investor, like there's some dude who's putting his money into our mortgage, or what's going on there, right? Pre-funding audits, they are not the client's fault. Wrong. They're our fault. It's our fault. It's our broken system, our broken process, our broken policies. It's on us, 100%. The solution for this, 100% of documents up front. Not just income and down payment. Get the void check. Get the ID. Get all of the docs up front. Detailed submission notes. Detailed, robust submission notes, right? We've got the template. Use the template. Underwriters love that template. They genuinely do. This was my policy, and I implemented it on $1 million file. I'm not making it up. I'm still Facebook friends with the client, in fact. We still chat every now and then. And he remembers how this went. 30 days out, I'm sending an email off, a little written notice. If I don't have all of the documents by the end of next week, we're going to have a conversation about you finding a new broker to fund your mortgage. Now, I didn't word it quite that aggressively. It's probably more along the lines of, if we don't have all of the required outstanding documents by the end of next week, we're going to have a conversation about what's happening, how this is going to wrap up. I didn't get any documents back. So now we're 21 days out. So I pick the phone up. I say, okay, we'll call him Bob. Bob, we're going to have a problem if I don't have these documents this week. Like, I need these documents this week, not next week. I need them this week. He was paying out 3 Ford F-350 trucks. They were all company trucks, but the payments were coming out of his personal account, not his corporate account, which we won't even get into that whole conversation. So they had to be paid out. He had the money to pay them out. That wasn't a problem. He'd just been delaying it because he'd been busy. I mean, if he had 3 trucks, this is a busy guy. He got a lot going on, and he just hadn't got around to it. And I said, I am not joking with you. At the end of this week, if I don't have these documents, you need to let me know who your new broker is going to be, because I will no longer be your broker. And I knew I had that new letter of engagement in place, and it's got that clause in there. If you're not cooperating with me, if you're not giving me what I need, when I need it, we're done. And he'd already signed the commitment and the compliance. And in that compliance document, there's a Form 10. And in the Form 10 in BC, it shows my gross commission. So he knows I'm making $10,000. He knows my gross commission is $10,000 on this mortgage. I mean, I'm not making that because of splits and everything else, but in the client's eyes, that's what I'm getting paid. And I'm getting all that, right? And he says, really, man? Really? You're going to let a $10,000 commission go? I said, it's not about the $10,000. It's not about the money. I said, it's about my reputation with the lender, but more importantly, it's about my reputation with our mutual friend who referred you to me. I'm not going to have them thinking that I did a bait and switch and put you into a B lender or put you into a private because we couldn't fund on time. This is a miracle approval. This is an absolute miracle approval on the A side. That this has gotten done the way it got done, I'm real proud of myself. Can you tell? Like, this is a big deal. And there's no other bank you can go to that this is going to get done in a week. So if you don't have these cleared by the end of this week, it's going to cost you about $50,000 more total borrowing cost. And I'm not getting sued for that, and I'm not taking responsibility for that, and I don't want to make a penny on your transaction. The message got through. It then took him 4 full days to actually get the trucks paid off and get the statements to confirm they were paid off back to me and get the lender to sign them off. It took the whole week, right? And so we hit the 15-day mark. We were right there. And at that point, I would have cut him loose. the damage it would have caused to the referral relationship if I had had the perception of a bait and switch or the inability to close would never have been overcome. That would have been the end of that referral partner relationship. It would have been the end. So this was my policy. And if you're on mortgage number 5, you're probably not going to come off the mountaintop quite this hard at any client. You're going to try and bend to their will and do what you need to do, and you're just going to like tolerate their craziness. I get it, I've been there. But at a certain point, you start drawing a line in the sand because you don't need the stress, and you don't need a lawsuit, and you don't need relationships blowing up around you. The last word on this one, I'm bringing that quote back up again, right? Tell me what you value, and I might believe you, but show me your calendar and your bank statement, and I'll show you what you really value. Because that is reflected in this, right? If you value your time, then you're going to have detailed submission notes, a completely filled out application, 100% of docs up front, the signed letter of engagement. You're going to have a policy and a process that ensure your bank statement doesn't get attacked by zigging when you should have zagged, right? By letting a client take you to the 11th hour when you shouldn't have gone there.